Hey everyone, hi. I have Eren Alakus here with me today, and this is Deepak. Starting this podcast. It's completely new. In fact, Eren, you are my first podcast interviewee, and I really hope that we get this going so you become the number one customer of mine that I am going to go and launch this program with. Okay. So, Eren,
I
how are
feel
things going
flattered.
at your
Thank you.
end? Tell us a little bit about yourselves if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. I'm Aaron. I'm actually coming from Germany, but I live here in Portugal. And I just recently built a company. What means recently? It's over a year, but over the time of the last few months, it got a little bit more public. It's Olympus IQ. And it basically is a data AI annotation company. And I know that this is about a little bit about like sales and everything, but I was actually a decade in sales, which means like I have actually the whole experience of sales. But I also say, and I don't know if you agree with that with me, but I guess so, like that as a founder, as a startup founder, as in any profession, like sales is the thing when you master sales, you can master everything. This is my opinion.
Well said. And I think that's a valid opinion. I mean, I would fully agree with you. In fact, when Erin, you and I were discussing what would the title and the theme be for this program, your proposal was you would love to talk about turning setbacks into sales power and fuel to keep building as you go forward. And I think you have got some experience in setbacks and how I've watched you come back from them. And I think the audience would love to hear a bit more about that. But I'd like to
Yeah.
just, start off asking a simple question. Did you choose the title or did the title choose you? How did that go?
I would say this is like a double-sided sword. It's like first of all, one of the basic topics I always start when I mentor somebody. Like when I mentor somebody, this is like the first basis. Like, hey, you're gonna get hitbacks, you're gonna fall down. You have to prepare yourself for it. And it's also because I learned so much through it that it's for me like I think like I have a lot of knowledge to tell about it. What means knowledge? There's not really knowledge about it, but like at least experience.
Experience, yes, of having gone through the
Yeah.
grind, right? So let's talk
Exactly.
about that a bit with you, right? Let's just double click on that one. Now, you and
Hmm.
we're both coming from a sales background. We both know the discipline matters, right? The ability to take the knocks
Yeah.
and stand up again. But what exactly do you tell yourself when you get a setback, when this rejection comes where a customer says no? What would my
Hmm.
audience love to know is how do you recover? How do you come back with strength? Because I've watched you and I've noticed that you will have your moment. I see you stepping back, but then you come back with, in fact, more energy. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah. And this is actually like the thing what I love the most. Most people have a setback. Let's say they are in cold calls. Like they get 10 calls and everybody like, no, get off. And even cussing and other thing. But the thing is what you have to like number one is like think the next one is going to be the one. Like never stop. Whatever it is, never stop. The next one could be the one. The next cold call you get is the person that you get. The next experiment brings you to your financiation, to your investment, and so on. I mean, like it was like there's a famous quote from the guy who made the light bulb. I forgot his name, and he said basically like I didn't have 1,000 failures. I have thousands ways on how not to make the light bulb, and that is one part. And I think this is very, very important to like get that in mind. You're so close. You're so sometimes so close you can't even know how close it is. So just do one step more. And the other thing is the learning part from it. Like you didn't get your job promotion? Good. You have time to get prepared for the next one. Like see it as something good. You got beaten in a race. Nice. You have more time to prepare. You know who your target is. You know what you have to do better. You didn't get the sales call. Listen to it again. Check what you did wrong and do it better the next time. It's like get out of every bad situation, something good comes out. The same as every good situation, something bad can come out. But this is part of life. And I think you should see it as part of life.
But Aaron, I need to double click there again because, as you're speaking, clearly salespeople tend to have a lot of experience and a lot of deep spaces to go into. But I want to
Hmm.
understand, you are a very young person and you're talking as if you've had so many knocks in life like that of a 50-year-old, right? And I'm
Yeah.
that age. Tell me a bit more about it. How early did you think that you were getting used to having setbacks? And there's an entrepreneurial spirit about you that I've always noticed in every conversation. So why don't we
Yeah,
get a bit personal? You give me some understanding of your background. What hard knocks are we
yeah,
talking about that really helped you shape you the way that you are today as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, yeah, sure. I think that's actually very important to start with. Yeah, that people even know who I am. Like, otherwise they think, who is this guy who talks about setbacks? That basically, I started my first business with 19. Like, I was directly in my mind was always like, I don't want a boss. I know what I can. I know I need to learn more, but I know what I can, and I'm just gonna dive into it. That's something we might get later into. But that way, I just started directly partnering up with my brother-in-law in Germany with insurance offices, and it went good. In the first 3 4 months, it was like, oh my god! I thought like I was so good, but in the first 3 4 months, it was like, okay, nothing big comes up, and I was frustrated. But at that time, I was like everybody else, like most people, just depressed and thinking, okay, that's it. Then it went better and better, and with the time I got more successful. But there were, of course, a lot of small setbacks. But when I talk about the biggest major setback was when I was 25. I already had some other things where I developed money income, but money income was at that point not anymore the core mission. I did entrepreneurship out of love for the spirit, like the spirit, like everything in it. But basically, at the biggest downfall with 25, I lost everything. Basically everything. Yeah, from millions, from contact to certain family members, and I was at the edge of like, what do I live for? Like, what is it all worth? And with time, like I was moving to Portugal, and with time, I was like always sitting at the beach, always sitting at the beach, no phone, nothing, and just looking at the beautiful beach. Until I realized at one point, like I was always after those flashy things, driving the Ferrari, buying nice watches or something like this. I mean, it's a little bit, little bit not so authentic now with all the designer things, but basically, it's like a little bit of. I sat there and I thought like the most beautiful things you get for free in life, and this is like the alone the fact that you can wake up another day, and with time. And that was the most significant thing. I learned what I did bad in the situations. And I learned, hey, I don't need to judge myself for it. I don't need to be ashamed for it. Indeed, I should like be happy for it. And now, 4 years later, where everything is going up again, I'm saying like this was the best thing that could happen to me till now, and I will never forget it. It's like I lost everything, moved in another country with 400 euro. Like imagine I can't speak the language, nothing. I have to live in a shared apartment of a company that I got in with like three other people. And you have to imagine like it's like really this like vibe of like not a third world country, but like really like the rural parts of Lisbon, I would say. And you get in there and everything is like full of cockroaches and but like and I'm somebody like I got so used to from being poor to then getting rich and then to getting poor again that I was like this poor again was so hard this time. Like being born poor was not the problem, but after I was 10 years, a decade long rich, yeah, that was like so hard. And that was basically the thing. And now I also have a lot of setbacks, but yeah.
But Aaron, there are people listening right now, and many of them are entrepreneurs, and many of them in the corporate world. But I sense that there's still a message in what you're saying over there, right? And to me, I'm listening to someone who seems to be talking about resilience. Seems to be, you listen to half your story, it sounds like a broken situation. But as you listen, you actually realize that there's nothing broken. Everything that you've been gathering seems to be some way of figuring out, okay, I need a sign, I need some data. This data is allowing me to become better and better and better. So rejection is always personal, right? But here's a question for
yeah,
you. How do you dig deep in to make sure that it's not personal, that you move forward? And I love the analogy used about the cold call, right? If not this, then the
hmm,
next one. But that sounds like a very mechanical process, or is it an emotional process? How do
yeah,
you process that for yourself?
To be honest, like at the beginning, it was very hard, even for me, because like in the first time where I was in the insurance industry, most was like mouth to mouth propaganda. We had our offices and everything, And then when I was doing high ticket sales, this was basically like I had to call just people out of the internet. Like I got a list from my client and just have to call them. And I was like, in the beginning, I took it very personal. Like sometimes when I would think, and I was even questioning myself. That was the worst thing. I was questioning myself till I got to one point where I was talking with a very good client, and he came out of sales himself, and he said, like, you're a very good salesperson, but what I see is you are afraid. I feel it. You are afraid because at that point I got so many setbacks, so many like cuss words, and so many like just hanging up, which everybody knows. But he said to me one very specific thing. He said, like, look, whatever the people say about you is what they think about themselves. Like when they are unhappy, when they have a bad day, they just look for somebody to let it out on. So it's not you who does something wrong. You are a great salesperson. Even like everybody needs to learn. I don't want to say that I'm the best of the best, but after this, I thought like, yes. Like when I have a bad day, sometimes I'm also like, maybe not the nicest person to anybody, to a friend or somebody, and then I realized, hey, sorry, it wasn't meant like this. It was not because of my friend. I'm apologizing, and I'm saying it was because I had a bad day. And at that point, I saw it differently. When somebody was giving me a hard setback, I was thinking in my mind, what does this guy has to go through today that he has to have such a bad mood? And that changed my mind shift. After that, I was like, look, he didn't work out because he has maybe like money problems, family problems, whatever. But right now, I need to make that. I need to make the exactly. And like I said, you never know how far the next really big call is.
So, listening to you, Aaron, I gotta admit one thing, right? I mean, typically we never
Hmm.
wish people failure. We never do that, right? But I get the
Exactly.
distinct feeling, and as I talk to entrepreneurs like you or serial entrepreneurs who have made money, lost money, but keep coming back for more, right? Coming back for more. And I don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get the feeling it's not just only the money. The question that I would ask you is actually very different, though. It's like if you did not have these setbacks, do you think you would have done the way you have operated till today?
No, no, definitely not. Like I would say, so 200% not. Especially like I can just pick one topic and that I can go over very fast. Was with employees. Like I was in the insurance industry, of course, when I was having their employees, it was very easy. Everybody wanted to make money. In sales, it's like you don't need to motivate the people so much. But when I came to Portugal, I needed to start the first time as an employee. But I was fast a team lead, project manager, and then I had a project. And for the first time, I saw, especially because the salaries are not so high here, for the first time I saw, oh man, these people need motivation. They don't just have the fire. How do you get them to the fire? And they are way more complicated in some kinds. So I needed to find out literally, okay, what do I do different? And there was a huge setback because I was not prepared for this. But what I got out of this was so good that I now know way better to deal with people. Because this is one thing I actually want to say. Like, I'm maybe not the best salesperson. I'm good at sales, but maybe not the best. And so many other, I'm maybe not the best technical person, but I come over it. But one thing I know is like a valuable thing for me is like to find the right people who do things for me right because you don't have to know everything. Everybody often thinks I have to know everything to start a company. Like I have to be technical, I have to be the CFO, the CMO. But basically, like I have not enough knowledge to build what we built with Olympus IQ, our data annotation platform. So I picked a developer who's like fantastic at what he does. We partnered up and we built something big. I was not prepared for the huge enterprise world. So I needed to get my advisors like you, Deepak, for example. Like here I can say Deepak is one of my partners as well, and of course my strategic business advisor. And I would say like this was the best decision ever. We had contact over a year, and I thought like, for what should I need that? Remember maybe when we met us, I was thinking like, well, what should I need a strategic business advisor or anybody in.
Yeah.
This is a
Yeah.
great pivot, though. This is a great pivot because what I want to do is that
Hmm.
I want to really make this about your experience in the role of a founder who comes from a selling background, but you just actually opened up a very interesting dichotomy, which is you had the courage to do something that you've never done before. and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that conviction, I want to just double click on that one, right? You are, I think, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting the feeling you're not selling features anymore, you're selling beliefs. How would you
Yeah.
explain your role as a founder who's now leading with selling this idea to people? How does that go about
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah, I would say like in my story, it's even more funny since I was selling my product before I even had a product. I was basically selling a dream, and that was the hard part. And this is, but what I think is like very special, or like what you need to have as a startup founder, as somebody who really wants to bring a thing out, you really need to believe in it. You need to see it as it is accomplished already. And this is what other people feel. When they feel the burn in you, you definitely can reach them. The difference is just like you have to touch people always on an emotional basis. You know, you have to make them, you have to, you have to sell them the dream of what they have when they join you on your mission. And I don't mean with that that you should fool them. That's definitely not. They're like unethical ways of sales is like, in my opinion, I think it's not even so possible anymore, except like for huge scammers. But at least in the big enterprise world, it's not possible. So I would say you definitely need to, you also need to say sometimes, hey, this is not the right person, and I'm not the right person. We both don't have the right synergy. So it's also about saying no. Learning to say no is also a thing. Like I would say was a little bit about this founder selling without a product. I needed to learn to say no.
Right. I really like the fact that you built in something there. And one of the things that I've noticed that a lot of founders do wrong is one, think that they can solve any problem. And what I've heard from you is that's not true. You need to get the right people around you. Collective
Yeah.
intelligence is better than the individual intelligence. That's, I think, is a great takeaway from that conversation. The second conversation, which I really liked, was the element that you brought in. At the end of the day, I could work on perfection and have a finished product and lose a lot of time, or sell my belief to someone that I have a vision. This is what I'm doing with the vision, so I can accelerate the process of becoming a startup entrepreneur. I think that's a very powerful message because I can assure you there are too many people out there chasing perfection. And a message that Aaron, I want to make sure that they are getting from you is for something very clear. Perfection is great, but to be honest, you lose a lot of time. And the more perfection that you chase after, the more you're going to delay the inevitable. And cash flow is always critical in any startup, right? And I think that's my experience
Exactly.
as well from that. Now, I'm going to
Yeah.
double click on Olympus a bit, right? I mean, first of all, I love the name. When you mentioned to me that, Olympus is in on top of my mind, I was actually curious because the name itself told me this guy is going to do something very different. Are you comfortable? I know you were in stealth mode for a long time. You've been very quiet and reticent about talking to anyone. But then I think I would love to still push you a bit and just understand from you. Why Olympus? What problem do you think you're solving by doing that? And what does the road ahead look like for you?
Mm, yeah, thank you. That's actually right. I was like for a long time very quiet about this because I wanted to first get there. But Olympus for me basically means like it is a little bit like relate to the Mount Olymp from the Greek mythology. I always was a fan of the Greek mythology. But my thinking was not that I'm a king and looking down to the people or anything. My belief is that we are like Hercules. You know, we all are children of God, and we all can, when we really give our best, we all can get from Zeus, get picked up to the Mount Olympus, or we walk up there ourselves. Exactly. And this is like also the point I think where Olympus IQ was like so like the IQ part and everything came in was so special because like in what we do, you like that what we solve is definitely what I witnessed in this industry and why I even walked into the industry was quality and the people behind it. You know, people always think AI is going to replace me or anything, or because it's AI, I don't have to like work so good for us in AI model training. But the thing is, if you don't have good AI, if you don't have good people, if you don't have the right workload behind it and the right system, then you get sloppy AI. Then your system will not work. And this is what I'm trying to solve. What I'm not trying to solve. What I'm solving with the right people by my side. Like I said again, like you need the right people by your side and the right systems so that we can make evolve AI even more. But we leave still so much place because like this is something what people always need. AI is growing, we are always growing, so there is place for everybody. So people, you don't get replaced by AI only when you don't get into it. Take as your advantage. I know, for example, with you, Deepak, and that is one part where I started to work more with AI, because I saw how much you do with AI in your sales, in your marketing, and everything. And there was a point where I started to also use more AI in my daily and in my professional life, and I just boosted like 10x.
In fact, it's very interesting you say that because Aaron, I've been working with you for about 6 or 7 months now, I think longer. In fact, longer. We met
Longer,
late
over a year.
2024.
Yeah.
And I noticed that you are very, very, very thoughtful in how you talk, deal, engage with AI. You get multiple data points, then you keep asking back and forth, you keep prompting to get a sharper and sharper view of things. And I think that's always cool, right? And I think what I've learned from you, in particular, watching you in terms of how deep you get into AI, is you still remain in control, but you're also giving it a lot of trust and a lot of input from your end, also opening up your mind, putting in the information so you can get better information out. But I want to double click on something with you. You mentioned the word annotation, but you actually would, I would love
Hmm.
to make sure that we actually cover that, because I hear you talk about AI in general and I respect your point of view. You are very adamant about human in the loop. In fact, the more you speak, the more I actually think you spoke about humans more than about AI. But when it comes to Olympus IQ and the fact that you are in the annotation business, for a layperson listening in, what exactly does that mean? What problem are you solving? How are you going about solving it?
I would say that's actually also a good point when we come back to how do you sell a dream. You have to sell your dream like so that a school guy can understand it. So basically, let's take the simplest thing, LLM or SLM, what basically means small language model or large language models. Like every day we speak with ChatGPT, we write with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT, like every day we use a GPT, whatever it is, like. And I think you guys, like when you write with a GPT, when you messages, whatever company it is, you want as much as possible a human response. And therefore are we here. Like my human in the loop, in the like human in the loop, like it's really fitting the name that we got for it. We train these AI models. Basically, we check, like we get a mess, like we say something, for example, like, hey, Deepak, what is the weather today? Or can you write me an essay? And then we make, like, for example, the AI has to write something. The AI, the language model, and you just think like, okay, no, a real person wouldn't write it like that. So I need to change it. And this is what is so important for AI companies, because they need to make it as humanly possible so that everybody can work with it, that you get the best quality. And even when we get to like more complex things like radiation or medical data annotation, these things are way more complex, and there we just need the people to train the models, because the more AI grows, the more we need the knowledge for, we know more we need the data for knowledge, like what exactly is right. And I think this is like, yeah, I think like very easy to explain exactly what data annotation with human in the loop is. I explain it to them like in a with an example, because sort of make it better understand. And one thing is like I heard like one that was on a TV show, and there was somebody crying about his girlfriend lost, and he was crying and everything. And the grandma said like, look, honey, you can cry for 5 minutes, let that all out, and then go back to it. Get back to your life, go running. And this is the thing. Lay down 5 minutes. Go, let everything out, like get the emotions out. Don't lock them away, but then realize, okay, life goes on, because life doesn't wait for you. It goes on. So at this point, this is what I would say to my younger self. I would say like, you have to go on. Like the morning is for over. You can change the back, but you can change the future. You are the mason is it right in English? I'm sorry, my English is like not my native language. The architect, I would even say, you're the architect of your future. So basically, I think one thing is, if you want to become a founder, get the habits of a founder, you know like. And this is one thing that I do myself. Like I always spoke bad about myself, But the moment I stopped speaking bad about myself, I say to this, don't listen to yourself, speak more with yourself. And this is the thing, like often I was like, oh, you did this wrong. It was that was wrong in the sales call. Oh, you will never get this big company out there. So big people. And then I stopped with it. And I said to myself, hey, look, you already did this step. You already did this step. Because I think every entrepreneur will know that, and anybody who wants to go into entrepreneurship, you feel always at the end of the day, even if you work 20 hours, oh, I didn't do enough. I didn't do enough. You will always feel that. I think that everybody knows this feeling of I didn't do enough. But that's okay. This is actually a good thing. But you also have to understand that you applaud yourself. You don't need people to applaud you for what you've done. You have to self applaud you for what you've done. And the thing is, when we come to perfection and everything, I think this is the biggest mistake for people who want to get into a business, whatever it is, if it's AI or whatever. They want to have everything figured out at the beginning, but you don't know. Like I'm like for 1 year in this business, and there are still things that I don't like fully grasp. Like even though I have a huge knowledge by this time about it, it's like there's still more to learn. AI is evolving, for example, every day. So of course I have to keep up every day with that. But what I was doing is I didn't know exactly where my way is going. But I just jumped into it and said to myself, on the way there, I am going to get every knowledge I need to make this to the perfect exactly. So when I can give an advice to the younger generation or to the generation my age, it's like it's funny like that I say younger generation since I'm 30 myself, but I would say definitely don't think too much. Don't think too much. When you have a dream, when you're 100% certain that you can achieve that, don't listen to anybody. Listen to your heart and go for it. The rest will come up with the time. And if it doesn't work, no matter, it's no problem. Then you know this didn't work, but maybe the next thing. So just never give up. And again, with this next thing, it comes back again, like to the loop of the next call, is it?
It's, what I'm laughing about is you actually started
Hmm.
off in your own style talking about cold calls. Just focus on the next
Yeah,
thing, the next thing. We are literally now ending by the same concept, right? You need to keep
yeah,
coming back to it's a loop. You got to do the hard work. And
yeah,
sometimes I get the feeling that it's like for you, it's like paying the school fees. You have to get
yeah.
some failure to keep that loop going. Now, Erin, a lot of stuff has been said, a lot of things that people are going to absorb from this. How do people connect with you? How do people find you? How can people follow you? What would your guidance be?
Yeah.
How do
Guys,
we contact you?
yeah, guys, for everybody, you can follow me on LinkedIn. It's Eren Alakus on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/en/Eren-Alakus, and just on Instagram for Eren the Wolf. But I'm really like, this is the thing. Like, no matter how less time I have, and I think there are so many people who can address that. Like, I often even give out my business number or my private number, and I love to mentor people. Like, not to make money, not like this mentor say, I could bring it to 1 million, but I love to, when I see somebody who wants to do something, message me. If you have anything where you think, hey, I could help you, message me. I would love that. Just message me your input, write anything, and I will get back to you. And believe it or not, I will most likely also learn something from you. But I will really say, message me, write me what your thoughts are. Tell me your questions. Ask me what I could do better. Could I help you in any way? Why? Because like I think everything you do, you get back in life. So what you give out, you get back.
Agreed. Erin,
Yeah.
there's a lot that even I have to absorb, right? We were talking about age and innocence. Now, at my age, innocence is gone, right? I've seen so
Right.
much, but I think as I listen, I actually realize, and I want people to understand this very clearly that that listening to this podcast, right? There's a lot you've achieved. There's a lot you still want to achieve, and I think that's what drives you. You've used the word hunger
Yeah.
at least 6 times. I've been counting that, right? And I don't think that people. I want people to understand one thing. And I'm not speaking for you, Erin, but I have a feeling that this is not hunger, the belly hunger. This is a hunger to do something good. This is hunger to do something big. This is hunger to actually, put a mark, make a mark. There's a legacy element that I can kind of get a feel for. So I have
Mm,
really enjoyed this conversation. I am going to wrap it up now,
definitely.
Erin. Thank you very much for your time. It was a great conversation. I will be packaging this. I'll get it out to the people soon. and I'll keep in touch with you as well. As always, team, you know where to contact me. Reach out to me as well. I'm going to be posting this on LinkedIn, so you know I'm drowning people with my LinkedIn post. Here's another great one this time. Hopefully, this one is not going to make you drown, but this is going to be that straw that Eren has given out to us in this form of this advice is given that you're going to hold on for dear life as you struggle in those turbulent waters called entrepreneurship and your own hunger to become better and good. And I think, Eren, that's the best way to close this call is to actually thank you very much for that insight. I really
I
enjoyed it
thank you the
myself.
same.
You are absolutely correct. People learn at any age. And I'm telling you right now, extremely humble with that insight that you shared with us. I think that this podcast is going to do well for a lot of people, and I'm going to make sure that message gets out there for you.
I hope that I thank you for having me, and Deepak, we will definitely stay in contact. And for everybody else, reach out to me. I'm always happy to receive messages and help where I can.
Perfect, Aaron.
All
You take
right.
care then, sir. Absolutely.